is not here. Kevin is traveling. He's on vacation, and he holds the gift certificates. So without Kevin, I don't have any gift certificates, and I didn't think you guys would just buy anything. So, but there are some leftover wood blanks back there, and they got day old bread prices on them. So take a look. If you saw one before and it was a little too high, look again, because they're at least half price over what they were marked. We'd like to get rid of as many as possible before the end of the year. And given that we don't have a real meeting in December, then that helps us just bring in a little bit of income. Let's see, after our short break, we'll go through our challenge table, which was to turn some tops and hopefully donate a few. There's a box I put together, or I put on the table, that is for if you want to donate some tops to the Santa's workshop that's coming up this month, please do. And after we go through the challenge table, then we'll go through the show and tell table and let people explain some of the things they've been working on. Okay, getting right into our announcements. Let's see. The first announcement is kind of a sad one. You all probably recognize Tony Giordano. I'm sorry, I trouble with his last name since I've known him. He passed away this month. He was a longtime member. He done demonstrations for us. He came to a lot of the meetings and did a lot of work with acrylics or resins and things that he had done. Just wanted everybody to know that, and know that he will be missed by our club and his family and friends. So moving on to a lighter subject. Let's see. I think I just told you this, but support your club tonight by purchasing one of the beautiful blanks that Don Frank had donated to the club for sale. They're back there on that table. Take a look. This month's challenge drawing winner will get the choice of 2 3D printed threaded inserts or a digital multimeter. It's the folks, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel for things to give away there. Let's see. Annual club dues for 2025 can be paid starting this month. So please, I want to see every member back next year. I hope to have every member back next year. Our club needs every member back next year. So if you're ready, you can start paying dues for next year as soon as you want. We truly want all members to renew in 2025, and we want to gain membership in 2025. That will be our goal. Okay, Open Shop, as most of you know, is available every Saturday morning from 8:30 to 12. It usually lingers on past 12. And then Wednesday and Thursday evening from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., except for the third Wednesday, which is when the guild has their meeting out here and we don't open our shop during their meeting. If you're using the shop, please help keep it clean. In the cleanup with the vacuum, that always works great. Just if you aren't aware, there is a security system on the building now. If you ever come for open shop and you can't get in the front doors, a lot of times if there's nobody out in this area, we'll leave the front doors open. Check the back door. If the back door is locked, there's a doorbell on the back door. Ring it, and somebody in the shop will hear it and will come out and open the door for you. I've seen it used, so I know it works. If you have not already and you are using the shop, please sign a shop waiver. It kind of protects the club a little bit, but it also gives us some emergency contact information that's good to have. We've got it posted on the bulletin board in the shop, listing with contact information. And if you are using the shop and you have any or see any problems with the equipment, please just let me know or let one of the board members know, and we'll do what we can to take care of it. I did get some, Kevin had reformatted the awards photos that we used to have posted up on the wall, and we've got those in and back up on the wall in there. So it's starting to come together, starting to look like our home. Let's see. Now I'm going into the help wanted. and there's going to be several opportunities here. The first thing is the Santa's workshop activity is going to happen. I haven't seen a whole lot of information from the guild. They're trying to work out. I think Chris was afraid to go too far because he hadn't secured a Santa Claus yet, and he got that secured. So I'm hoping to get a little bit more information, but it'll happen the weekend of November 23rd and 24th, which is the weekend prior to before Thanksgiving. So plan on, if you can, helping out. I don't know exactly what everybody will be doing, but if you show up, we'll find things there's all kinds of opportunities for people to help out. And it's a great opportunity to kind of meet some of the community and get to know new faces when you're working with them on that. So volunteers will be needed to turn tops and to man where I think we'll probably have a sales table for the club. So what'll happen is this area will become kind of a Santa's, this is a sales area, so it'll be a lot like the First Fridays events where there'll be tables out here and people will have things out here for sale. I think there are opportunities if you wanted to have a table. You'd probably have to get a hold of the guild in order to do that, but you could probably set yourself up if you wanted to sell specifically that day. The club will have a table there with some items, but they'll get the kids going back through the shop and through a series of stages. The 6 stages, they'll end up, I think, in the room back here, putting a truck together. And they end up with a little truck. They start with chunks of wood and they end up with a little truck that they get to construct. And then we usually end up somewhere around, I don't know if they're going to come through our room or if we're going to be up here, but we'll have a drill press. We'll drill a little hole, and then we'll have a bucket of tops that they'll get to pick one out, and it'll go in the little hole, and the truck carries it, and they love it. And it's always a good time. So if you have that weekend available, please plan on being here. More information to come out. There should be an email because I don't know the specific times or anything yet. It seems like last year it ran 8 to about 4 on Saturday and maybe 10 to 4 on Sunday or something like that. So that's kind of the timing of it. You don't have to be here all day. The club's still needing some additional shop openers. So if you are back there using the shop, open shop, even if you can't be an opener, to be a backup opener to Anthony, it does a lot of the Thursday and Wednesday nights. And if he ever needed some backups, it'd be nice to have some phone numbers that he could call. Phil Sykes, manning the camera back there, has been posting our content of our club on Instagram account and what else? And Facebook. And so he's always looking for content. If you've got a project or if you've got some photos of an event that you were at that was had to do with wood turning or anything concerning wood turning that he could turn into some social media posts, please forward them to Phil. His email address is philsykes@gmail.com. I don't expect you to remember that, but if you look online, you'll find it. Let's see. And lastly, see Mike Thomas, if you have a demonstration to share or if you have a demonstration idea that you would like to see. He's getting the 2025 calendar going, and I think we got a lot of blank spaces right now, right? Nine months that we can fill up here. So okay. This is the month of the year where we get to do the fun thing of voting in the officers for next year. So I'm going to name off the officers, and by raising your hand, that'll signify a yay vote. And by not raising your hand, it'll be a nay vote. But it's basically just we don't have any challengers that I'm aware of, unless somebody speaks up real quick. Okay. So for president, Chris Coyne, me, do I got a thanks, guys. I think. No, thank you very much. Vice president next year is going to again be Mike Thomas. Do we got votes for Mike? All right. And treasurer, he is not here tonight, but it's Kevin Neely once again. Kevin does a great job for us. I wouldn't suggest voting for him. Ooh. No, because then he'd probably make me treasurer, and I don't want that. Do not put me in responsible for money. Let's see. And our secretary will be Elizabeth and Calvin Wright. Elizabeth's kind of filling in for Calvin, but they've been doing a great job for us. They've been keeping the wood chips newsletter going out and showing up. Elizabeth drives quite a ways to get here, so I always appreciate the fact that she shows up every time we need her. So that's all the voting we got to do. That's our officers for next year. President Chris Coyne, Vice President Mike Thomas, Treasurer Kevin Neely, and Secretary will be Calvin and Elizabeth Wright. Our at-large members, and this is more of a volunteer type situation. If anybody else wanted to be an at-large member, please let me know and we can get you on here. But once again, Sue Bergstrom is going to be with us. Mike Erickson, I don't see Mike out here today, but he comes in, he goes usually via Zoom, but he comes into the meetings that way. Ed Jasic is going to be on member at large. Anthony Harris is going to be a member at large. Bill Paulo is going to remain a member at large, but he said he'll probably be online more than he'll be able to get here. I think he's limited in driving right now. And our outside looking in person is Ann Molina. She's in Texas, but she's still a member and does zoom into our meetings and offers great advice and gives us some perspective on her club out there. And that's kind of nice to have when you hear what other people are doing. So that gets us through our voting for the officers this year. We'll go on into upcoming activities. We are going to have a shop cleanup this next Saturday, November 16th. It'll start at 10. It usually takes an hour, hour and a half. We'll be out there by noon, I'm sure. We're trying to get it cleaned up and ready for the public during the Santa's workshop. There will be a couple of open turnings after that. So I just ask that if you're at the open turning, keep it clean, Anthony. Skill builder on chainsaw cleaning and sharpening is going to take place, but I asked David if he'd postpone that till January since we got the Santa's workshop and then the holiday party. I thought it'd be better. David did take the time to run through a skill builder on changing the bandsaw blade in there. We had about 3 of our members that attended there. Would have liked to see more because David took his time to do it, but it was very interesting, and I did learn more than I knew when I showed up there. So thank you, David, for showing us through that. Anthony will be teaching a hollowing class in early 2025. I don't think we've put a date on it yet. And then Anthony, were you going to follow the hollowing class with a spoon? Your scoops class? So look for those in 2025. Both of those classes would be good things for our more intermediate and knowledgeable members to be taking part of. As you can see over there on the table, Gary's been very busy on his CNC producing batons that we're going to be finishing up and getting ready for the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department. I don't know when, but sometime soon, Mike Thomas, we are going to set up a sand and finish night where we can put those on the lathes we got back there to finish the sanding off and then turning off the ends and cleaning them up and getting them ready for finish. No, it won't take much sanding at all. So look for an email come out on when we're going to do that. But I'd say probably a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon or something. We'd probably pull that together. Big thanks to Gary and Mike for all the hard work. These batons are a big potential income source for the club. So very appreciative. And we're helping them catch up for about 2 years of not being able to have the batons, 4 years of not having the batons. So we've got our work cut out for us, but it's a great opportunity and a great partnership with the police department. The annual holiday party is going to take place in place of the December meeting. So it will be Monday, December 9th at 7 p.m. The board, I should say Ed, is going to provide some pulled pork, and we changed it. I had asked last time if there was anybody that would want to volunteer to prep the kind of main course, and nobody beat down the door getting up here. So Ed graciously volunteered a good deal that he had gotten on some pork, and he's got it prepped up, and we're ready to go. We'll provide the pork, the buns. We've got plates and utensils. I probably would like a member to bring some soda and some water. I don't know that we've got that. And then the other members will be bringing in salads, sides, and desserts, whatever your choice is. Watch for and respond to an email RSVP so that we can kind of determine how many to plan for. But that should be coming out within the next week or so. We got to get Kevin back in town so he can help us out there. Looking for information. If you don't know already, our club has a library, or our club shares a library with the Woodworkers Guild and has resources back in there. As always, you can get to the website. That's a great resource for information. That's kcwoodturners.org. Watch for your Wood Chips newsletter. There's usually announcements in that, or upcoming events maybe in that to be looking for. Or simply ask one of the board members. If I can get any board members that are here just to raise their hand, just so you know faces. We're around, so if you have any questions or anything, ask us. I think that gets us through our announcements for this month. We are going to now take some time and let Phil give us some safety minute, and then we'll get right into our presentations of tools and tips.
Thank you, Chris. Everybody give Chris a round of applause as our new president. I've got something special for you tonight for our safety minute. It's like 2 minutes, but it's a video, so you don't have to hear me talk. But there are 5 things that I want you to look for in this video. See if you can find them. If we can get the video. It's coming up. Anyway, we're going to be talking about grinder safety tonight. There was a video posted to YouTube recently from Craft Supplies USA. And hopefully there's going to be no guts coming up. But oh wow, yeah, we're getting into the code there. We're digging deep on the internet. But it's a video about grinder safety and how not to grind a tool the wrong way. And then they give a few ideas on how to grind a tool the right way. Who here uses a fast grinder, like a speedy grinder, super fast, like 3,600 RPM, 3,450, there's the number. Who uses a slow speed grinder? How fast are those? So still pretty fast. Oh, there we go. And then there's the super slow wet grinders, but we won't talk about those. Here's Craft Supplies USA.
Hi, I'm Mike from Craft Supplies USA, and today we've got a fun and exciting video for you. We're going to show you some grinder safety tips, and we'll show you how I almost lost my finger. So a couple months ago, I was sharpening a bowl gouge, and I was trying to remove a lot of heavy material off the front of the tool. And I usually always hold my hand on top of the Varigrind jig when I'm sharpening. And I was pushing too hard, and I was trying to grind a lot of steel away, and I was in a little bit of a hurry. And the tool slipped off the grinding wheel, and it jammed my finger right between the Varigrind jig and the wheel. And obviously that's not good for your finger. and it ground away most of my fingertip there down to the bone. And then it tore off the front of the tip of the finger. And I want to show you guys how you can prevent that, and so it doesn't happen to you as well. So right now we're going to cut to the clip of me doing that on the grinder from our security cameras so you can see exactly what happened. As you can imagine, that hurt as bad as you think it did. Fortunately, this accident had a good outcome. I didn't have any permanent damage, but I went to the urgent care. I had a fracture in the bone, and I ground part of the finger bone off on the tip of the finger, and then tore off most of the tip of the finger, but it's healed up pretty well. So they patched me up, sent me on my way. Really no permanent damage other than some nerve endings and numbness. But other than that, I'm doing pretty good. So let me show you how we can prevent that so it doesn't happen to you. When you have your varigrind and you're sharpening a bowl gouge or a spindle gouge, instead of holding it on top of the varigrind, now I've gone to holding it underneath. That way, if the tool slips off either side, my fingers aren't going to be in the way. Worst case, the varigrind gets a couple nicks on it, but I'm not going to be jamming my finger between the wheel and the jig. So I no longer hold it up top anymore when I'm swinging this back and forth. I hold it nice and low on the underside of the varigrind. That way, if it slips, my body's not in any way a danger. All right, so hopefully you guys learned a little bit here. If you guys have any stories or personal experiences with shop safety issues or accidents, put them in the comments below so other people can learn from those mistakes as well. As always, subscribe to our channel for more wood turning videos.
All right. So if you have any fun stories you want to share with Mike Nish, you can go ahead and find that video on YouTube and share it in the comments. So he showed us how to hold the tool from the bottom with a varigrind jig. I think if we go back to what he was doing, there's a few things that he was doing probably incorrectly. Can anyone tell me what he was doing wrong? Was he? Anthony would probably know best. He was not using a CBN wheel. That's correct. What else was he doing kind of incorrect while he was grinding?
He was in a hurry.
He was in a hurry. Thank you very much. He was in a hurry. And when you get into a hurry, what does that cause? Lapse in judgment. Many things can happen when you're rushing through something. You're rushing through that, yellow light just to beat it to red or whatever it might be. So when sharpening using a grinder, whatever speed it's spinning at, please don't rush. You can actually sharpen faster if you don't rush. That's not a true fact. I'm just stating that. So there you go. What other things did you notice in that video there that he could have done differently? He's suggesting we move the hand to the bottom of the jig. Don? He could have said a lot more. Now, it was a security camera, so there might not be any audio. There could have been some words that we didn't hear. The one thing he did do, which was good, is he put the tool down right away. He stopped the machine and he immediately headed somewhere, hopefully to some first aid of some kind. Hey, do you guys remember when Chris did the first aid videos a couple years ago? Does anybody know where the first aid kit is in our shop right now? Chris, do you want to share what that is? It's on the rack with the wood. Is it visible from that rack? Okay. All right. There's also one right back here on the wall. Very good. In this room right here. Big one on the wall between the lathes. So, okay. Well, it's a small jet. You can move it out of the way. But next time you head in there, just check where the first aid kit is. It's always a good idea to know where that is, of course. Other things on grinding? Any other suggestions for Mike that we can put in the comment section? Use a CBN wheel. Don't rush. Sawdust is really good for absorbing blood, so metal shavings, not so much. That's a great point. So if you're grinding a tool and you notice that the steel itself is starting to turn blue at the tip, means your steel is getting really hot. Probably means you're either grinding too hard, too much, or for too long. So take a break. The other thing I would say too is that if you're having to grind a lot to reshape things, use a coarser stone if you have a coarser stone available. I've got an 80 grit CBN wheel and a 600 grit CBN wheel. I don't try to shape a tool on my 600 grit CBN wheel. I'll be there all afternoon, but I'll shape it on the 80 grit and then I will touch it up on the 600 so I'm ready to go. If you don't have CBN wheels and you just have the white wheels that came with your disc there, you'll probably find one of them is 80 grit, one might be 120. Make sure you know which one is which and use it appropriately. Clean your white or blue wheels as well. You need to clean those filings off so that they cut more efficiently too. Any other suggestions for grinder safety? That's a great point. Rick's saying if you're going to dress your wheel with one of those little diamond stones, either your white or your blue wheels, wear dust protection. And I tend to even wear dust protection if I'm going to be sharpening a bunch of tools, like when I start out for the day or end for the day and I'm resharpening tools, I'll go ahead and put a dust mask on because even those metal shavings, you don't want to get in there. But when you surface those stones, all that powdered dust just goes right into the air, right into your lungs, and that just contributes to the Turner's cough. And we don't want a Turner's cough. All right, I think that's all I have. If you have any suggestions on grinder safety, feel free to share on the comment section of the Craft Supplies USA video as well. Thank you.
So we're going to move right into the tips and tricks or the tools that you like or things that you've been shown that helped you out. And I brought in a couple that that I found very helpful. These I taped them together. Let me see if I can get them on tape so you can see them. These two little tools are D-Way beading tools. One of them is a 1/4 inch in width or diameter, I guess, half diameter. And the other one is 1/8 inch. And you saw the little boxes that I was doing. I was using these the whole time. The folks that do the baskets of illusion usually use a beading tool because I can't imagine trying to bead a whole bowl with a spindle tool. The reason I like these are, like I say, they're a D-Way tool. You can find them online. I think Mike said they may even be on sale right now or something. So, okay. So, they're not real expensive. You don't have to put a handle on them because what you're doing with them does not require a lot of, I guess there's not a lot of fear going on. You don't have to have a lot of leverage when you're using them. But the way they're fluted all the way down like a bowl gouge or like a spindle gouge, to sharpen them. I mean, I've had these for several years now and I haven't probably ground away a 1/4 inch yet, but you can just keep grinding this face all the way down. So as long as you kind of keep that angle, get it on the stone and just grind away that face. And once you get that whole ellipse there to hit the metal on the wheel, it's sharp and you go on. So very handy. And like I say, not a terribly expensive tool, but for little detail stuff and boxes and things like that. I love having these around. Yes. I agree. I agree. I agree. Yeah, I can hand these down to my kids and they'll go, why did they? This? That's a good, yeah, just start hanging around people that look like death and the other tool that I had around, and I don't know when or why I got it, but it was basically what do they call these scrapers? It was just a square in scraper, square on both sides, and then a little bit of an angle on this front face. And I would use it to square off the bottoms of boxes, but you had to kind of be careful because you didn't, once that whole face grabs hold, it wants, it wants to bite. Didn't use it a whole lot, never found it that useful except for square bottom boxes. And then Anthony showed me or instructed me on grinding one of the edges at the same angle that this edge is ground. So I got and just pull it back a little bit. Now, as I push in, I've got the ability to pull to the side and cut sideways too. And when I was making the little boxes to make the insides of the lids and to get a nice straight line and to be able to widen it out pretty easily and keep a clean cut, it worked fantastic. Also, you got that corner, so you can kind of push into a corner pretty easily with that because you got a nice cut on both edges. So it became a go-to tool, whereas before it was just a why do I even have this tool kind of thing laying around. So
Put the tip of it on the X, Chris.
so can you see that? So
Maybe.
that same angle here is also on this face there. And this side I just left flat because I'm always pulling to this direction. But very, very useful, and thank you, Anthony, for leading me to that, because it made this probably fairly expensive tool more useful for me. Yeah, the Pro PM is a powder metal tool, so it's a good tool. I mean, it's good high speed steel. I will have it for a long time because I don't have to sharpen it all that often, and you don't have to take very much off. So, but it made something that kind of sat around wondering why I had it to I want it in my bag all the time because I never know when I want to use it.
Okay. This tool here has been guys in for making lidded boxes and pepper mills.
Mike.
Oh,
Hello, testing 1, 2, 3.
this is a ultra thin parting tool. This is a 2 millimeter thick blade that is, well, I get these up, big bandsaw blade, you grind the teeth off and everything. Then I case harden it, heat it up, harden it. But this is great because
Check.
this has got the Hunter carbide tip. This is excellent for hollowing out. I have straight ones, and then Kevin has some that are bent, hook, and excellent for making, again, lidded boxes, anything like that quick and easy to do. Perfect for end grain. Let's see here. What else have I got? Oh, this, not very sharp, but this is a burnishing tool. What I'd use this for is for, and I'm a big fan of negative rake scrapers. Believe me, it can take out a lot of tool marks and everything in seconds. That leaves a nice, clean, smooth finish. Negative rake scraper, you know, you have to grind the burr is what cuts. And I'll do that. And then what I'll do is, instead of going back to the grinder every time, I take this as a carbide rod. I just swipe it on there a couple times and it rolls a burr right back on. So it saves time, saves tool steel and everything. And try it if you haven't done that. This is a negative rake scraper here. Be able to go on a sec. Go like this. It doesn't take a lot of pressure. You can feel that burr roll right onto there. And it is a little more durable than what it comes right off the grinder, you know, because if you look at it under magnification, it's kind of like a sawtooth blade. And this is more like a knife edge, a knife blade when you roll it on, and it lasts a little longer. But I love it. What else do I got? Oh, for skew or badan, I'm sharpening I'm honing all the time. And it's great because you just, a couple of quick swipes and it puts the edge right back on it. And if you keep up with it, you know, you don't have to go back to the grinder all the time. So I'm a big fan of these little hand things. Last but not least is this thing. I'll show you what this is. This is a Stuart Batty grinder platform. Nice thing about this is the way this works, you don't have to, if you're adjusting for different angles, you don't have to push it in and out to try to get it close to the stone or away from the stone. This is on a lip swirl. It's always equidistant from the stone right there. And to set the angles, Stuart has these. In fact, we gave one of these away recently. And say you want 40 degrees. Put the 40-degree mark on the base, slide this up to the stone until it reaches the stone. Tighten it up. You're ready to go. It's really sturdy. But I've had this for 6 or 7, 8 years or more. I love it. So let's see. That's all I can think of that I brought right away. But anyway, years of experience and everything. I mean, you always learn something new, and these are just little things that I found real helpful. I'm glad you brought those D-Wave beading tools in because I forgot about those. I love those things. Those are really awesome.
Rick Bywater was the first one that brought them in, used them in his basket of illusion demo.
I never would have done a basket of illusion bowl if I didn't have those.
Yeah.
You know what? Because trying to roll those beads, it's like an 1/8-inch bead if you put it across the whole surface of a bowl, inside and out. It'd take forever, and they take forever to do anyway. But
What keeps it big?
yeah, and it's
You can
real
make
simple.
You can make 6 ones. It'll all be where to do by hand, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's what she's put it in the hole.
Yeah.
Put it in the hole.
How do you do it?
And this is the next one every time.
And they're all perfect.
You roll one bead, complete bead, and then you go to the next one with.
I'll do about 4 where I'll
Yeah.
line them out.
Space it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really easy.
Especially on a curve because you can get to a point where you can kind of dig in.
You're not rolling
to
a
the next
square.
bead,
Yeah.
and yeah, they're not perfect. Yeah, so that keeps you distance wise and you know where you're sitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of great ideas and everything, and we should probably have a session like this more often because, you know, I inevitably learn something from somebody, you know, that's really, really helpful, but, that's why we're in business as a club. Anyway, thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Well, I do a lot of things where I turn something on the lathe and then pull it off to do extra work like carving or checkering or decoration or texturing. And something I got several years ago. I don't have three hands. But I bought this a tap that matches my headstock on my lathe. It's 1/8. And I turn, you can turn face plates. So you don't have to take a $20 or $30 face plate or chuck and tie it up with whatever you're working on. Cause I might work on something for a day or 2 or 2 or 3 weeks. So anyway, you get inexpensive face plates. And then I double stick the piece of work that I'm working on. Like here, I turned a bead on the lathe using a D-Way beading tool. And I've got a little piece of a 1/8" thread that I thread into the place where I tap. I've got a square spot on it that'll fit into a vise. Quite a bit of the time I use a jeweler's ball vise, and it allows me to position what I'm doing in different ways because I get real close with magnification. I like to have it different ways. And so the light is set up correctly. This is something else I've had for a long time. It's a Power On by Wilton, who makes vices, but I've also got a piece of 1/8" thread that I put on it. And then I can position it in such a way. You can mount this to a base. I've got it also had it mounted to a big block that I can put in the vise. So anyway, I like to. Well, one was probably interested anyway, so it kind of worked out. But anyway, that's okay. So anyway, that's I do my carving and decoration and stuff on lathe turn pieces, and I'm able to work on them off the lathe. Trent Bosch also sells something similar that fits into the banjo on your lathe. And it's fairly expensive. So I had this and didn't need one. No. Yeah. So you've got that on my one point life center. Perfect. I didn't know they made those. I know they make a 1.25" but I don't know that you can get the 1.25" thread in stock readily. I'm sure it's available somewhere, but
I missed the memo that we were doing this, or there were several other things I would have brought. But Mike and I went to a auction. Well, it wasn't an auction. It was a sale that a wood turner out on the other side of Lee Summit had. And he was a 3rd generation wood turner. His father and his grandfather had a shop in California. At one point, they had 7 people working for him. And they made big balusters and that architectural type of turnings. And so he was retiring and selling the things that he had. And he had a box that had a bunch of stuff in it. And I saw these and knew that I needed to own them. They're a pair of thick calipers that I guess came over on the boat with his grandfather, because they're probably 100 years old. And they're made out of cast brass, and you can adjust the depth that you want it to be, and it stops right there. So when you're checking a hollow form or something, and there's newer versions of this same type of thing, but I had no idea that they made them that long ago. So it was a pretty cool tool to pick up, and I'll use it along with some others that I have. A couple of minor things I might have brought with me. One little tool that costs nothing that's really handy in the shop is simply a stick with a big magnet, a big rare earth magnet on the end of it. Tape it on, screw it on, however you want to attach it to a dowel rod or something. But invariably you drop a little set screw, a little Allen wrench or something into 2 days worth of pilings into the bottom of the floor. And it makes a difference between finding a little tiny set screw or not. And so I always have that. I have just a 1/4 inch wooden dowel rod that I have. And I have one that's 3/8 of an inch long, and I simply pre-drilled a hole in the bottom of it, took a fender washer and screwed into the bottom of that. And it's just a scraper for pulling out shavings out of hollow forms. And it works, it works as good as anything that you can buy, because you can reach in the opening and just pull them out. And then if you're doing a hollow form that has a decent sized opening, while the hollow form is turning, you can just take the dowel rod and run it in there. And if you just slide it inside while the hollow form is turning, you can get acres of shavings and stuff out without having to constantly turn the lathe on and off. So it's a pretty handy little tip.
I have to say, I could have used some of those safety tips last week. I was turning a square, about this long, making just a small ornament out here on the end, and had it between centers, and didn't bother to round up the end that I grabbed with the chuck, because it was pretty square. I've done this a million times, and I get the little ornament all turned and I'm ready to part it off. That's about the last thing I remember about that whole process. I mean, it really hit hard and hurt like the dickens. But I think now if I was doing that again, I would turn me a tenon, I would grab it, and I would not have such a long piece of wood up there trying to part it off out here on the end to begin with also. And maybe the outcome might have been a little different, but when those accidents happen, they happen fast. You don't have time to dodge or anything like that. And it could hurt a lot. I think I might have brought this in last month. I'm not sure. The top team, we've been around for probably 25 years, maybe longer than that. And we used to go out, when we first started, we would go out to these different places like Deanna Rose. They would have a fall festival and we would turn tops out there all day long. And we didn't have any way to sharpen our tools once we got out there. So we would basically pack up every tool we had in the shop, haul it out there with us, and turn all day and try to make that work. And then somebody on the team came up with the idea, well, what we really should do is make handles that we could take out, that we could mount the tool steel in, and leave all the other handles at home in our shop. And so, they came up with something, and then, somebody's got to make theirs just a little fancier, a little better, that sort of thing. And so I ended up eventually with deals like these. And basically this is, you can get all this stuff over at Metal by the Foot on Truman Road, I think it is. Different brass comes in different hardness. This is something I think called 360. You can shape this with your wood turning tools. The M2 steel is harder than this. you have to, this particular tool has a tenon that comes probably back this far. So this doesn't break off. The tool is held in there by 2 set screws. And so then after we came up with these kind of things, you just sort of take one handle and maybe 10 or 12 tool steels, which you used to be able to buy. Almost every one of the vendors would sell those. They're not so much anymore. I'm not sure why they stopped that, but anyway, you can still get them. And so this is 360 brass. This is Bodark. I grew up in Texas. Here you call it Osage orange, or you call it hedge. Kind of depends on how the tree was used. The Osage Indian tribe made their bows, Bodearc, Bodearc. It all kind of ties together out of this wood. And then the farmers before barbed wire would plant this real thickly, and they would have a hedge to kind of contain their cattle and so forth. So anyway, that's that one. This is basically the same. Again, Bodarc, 360 brass, and ebonized Osage orange, and then just with a coating over it. I will say this: if you're going to try to turn in your shop any kind of metal, you can also do aluminum ends for these. I've done those. They last. They're very durable. But if you're going to do something like that, when you first start out, before you get it around, there's a lot of little metal chips coming off of that tool, and they're bouncing off of you actually. And then as you get along, as you get this thing completely grounded, then the little chips turn into long strings of metal actually, and which can get wrapped around your tool, can get wrapped around your finger if you're not careful. So you have to stop and clear those away pretty frequently if you're going to try something like that. And if you're going to do it, don't even think about doing it without a face shield on. These kind of glasses are not adequate at all. Probably, I think there's the welder goggle type things, I think would be effective, but I would really truly recommend that you just use a face shield. That's the safest way to do that. Keep the metal out of your eyes. Thank you.
Most people know that I turn these little tiny birdhouse ornaments, and I use a little tiny chuck for it. This Craft Supply used to make their own apprentice chuck that was similar in size to this, and I actually liked it better, but got lost at the Irish Fest this year. So I bought one of the Record Powers, and when I brought it in to mount the jaws a few weeks ago, the comments that I got was, gee, I've never seen one that small. This is actually not the smallest one Record Power makes. This is a 2.5 inch. They also make a 2 inch. Uses the same jaws, but doesn't extend quite out so far. So if you're looking for tiny chucks, they are available.
This thing on? I don't know if anyone's listening on Zoom, but no, 0. Is anybody on Zoom right now? Okay, so I'm not even going to bother with this then. I guess we need to record for the video. So most of this video is going to be mute. Hopefully there'll be a little bit that people can hear. Don probably brought the oldest tool. I'm going to say I brought the newest tool because I made this last week. So really, I don't know how helpful it's going to be yet, but I wanted to make a depth gauge for a really long time. And I was walking through Home Depot the other day and I found this really nice 1/4 inch drill bit. And I thought, that would make a really great depth gauge with a drill on one end to drill a pilot hole and then a depth gauge on the other. So I put a got a aluminum bar and had to clean it all up. You know, when you buy aluminum bar from somewhere, it's not very clean. So I cleaned it all up, and this is actually a D-way knob. I'm going to make a different knob for it at some point. But all I had to do was drill a hole through there, and then thread and tap the little 1/4-20 right here. Actually, this might be 5/32. And here we go. So it's may not be as impressive as some others, but the great thing that I like about it is that this drill bit particularly has kind of a rounded edge on the bottom right there, so you don't need to bang it into anything. You can also put a piece of wood through something like this, but the drill bit's really what I'm excited about, because I'd like to do some end grain bowls and cups, and I think this would come in handy for being able to drill pilot holes and kind of getting that depth started, so I know where my bottom is when I'm roughing things out. The next thing I have, my dad retired a couple years ago and he gets bored. So I told him about an idea I had, and then a week later he's like, so I've got a prototype for you. I said, okay. He's got a 3D printer, and this was the first version. This is actually, we found a version online from a different wood turner. This is a disc caddy, a sanding disc caddy, a 3-inch caddy and a 2-inch caddy. And they're really great for putting on, you know, your lathe as you're working, and you can pick a disc up out of here. You know, you can even take your interface pad and just pop it down there to pull it up. And then when you take it off, you can put them back in over here. Because I don't know about you, but every time I turn the lathe on or, you know, spray air somewhere, all my sanding discs go all over the shop. And so this keeps them in one place. So we wanted to do something a little bit different. So we redesigned it, and then we put magnets on it. So it'll stay on everything but a robust, because a robust has a stainless steel bed. But pretty much any other lathe out there, I've got magnets on the back and the bottom. And I'm still trying to figure out which kind of adhesive is going to work well for the magnets, but it really has worked well to keep discs from shooting out all over the place, because I've been doing this for years and I'm always looking for my discs. So even if you only use your discs once, it's great to have them all just stacked up right in a row. You can just kind of pop them down there, pull them up, and you're good to go. And this comes in the purple color, which is pretty exciting. K-State, there we go. Don't tell my wife. I guess I should have made them in blue, huh? But I'm going to make a few more of these, and we'll see how it goes. But I like this version; it works really well, and I've been using it for a couple of months now. And I've got one more. I was told we're only supposed to bring 2, Mike. I don't know; it was in the message. But I brought a 3rd tool, and this is one of my favorite ugly tools. I've got some ugly tools in the shop. I brought one a few years ago that was a bowl jig for the bandsaw to help make round bowl blanks. And that was really ugly. This is my current one. I'm going to put it right here. You can see this is a spacer for my grinder, and I use a jig to do a lot of my gouges, like a lot of people do. I do some freehand, but I use a jig for a lot. But I like to have a second bevel on the bottom to relieve that bevel area, so you've got much smaller bevel that actually touches the wood. So I first took the first half of this, which was about 1 inch, and shaped that so it sits right in the corner of the one-way leg really nicely. So I'll usually actually put this in first, and I'll grind my secondary bevel, just kind of get it out of the way, and then I'll go and grind my primary bevel, because if you grind your primary bevel first, and then you do your secondary bevel, you can create a little burr on the back of your primary bevel. So, weird fact. But that's why I always do the secondary, to try to do the secondary bevel first. In this little space here, it's about 1.5 inches and fits perfectly. You got to round the bottom to make it kind of fit right. And of course, I've always said I'm going to make another one of these that looks a lot nicer, but that has not happened. So that's what I got.